Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Meet the Presenters for the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. Today, I'm delighted to say that with a very good friend of mine, Laura, and this is Laura McDonald. Laura is a hypnotherapist, a BWRT practitioner. I got that right, didn't I?
Mhm.
I was worried I would get that wrong.
You did.
And she's been doing it for 21 years. Laura met at the first Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Hmm.
And we've been pals ever since. But first things first, Laura, most people who are watching this will know who you are. But for those who don't, if you wouldn't mind, could you give us a little bit of a background about who you are and what you do, please?
Yes, of course. So I'm Laura McDonald, as you said, and I am based in the west of Ireland, Castlebar.
Mhm.
I have four children, three girls and a boy, and I got into hypnotherapy because of my own mind issues.
Okay.
So I went to college, studied English. I was going to be a teacher or a speech therapist, one of the two.
Toss up.
Yeah, and was looking through the newspaper a few years ago, well, a long time ago, for a new job because I just left a job at Waitrose.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you know Waitrose supermarkets, I was there
Hmm.
11 years. So I was looking for a new part-time job because I had a young child at the time. And I saw this hypnotherapy ad for a course. And I'd seen it a few years before, but my friends were laughing at me saying it would be, weird. So anyway, this was 2003 and 2004 I started the course. And I remember on the very first weekend, like I went there just for curiosity and
Hmm.
said, maybe this will help me with my own head. And I rang my mum in the lunch hour. I think I've said this to you
Yeah,
before.
I
And
think
I
you
said,
have. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
it. This is what I'm doing. And she was like, oh my God, just got through college and now you want to do something else. And I said, this is it. And what stood out to me the most was, why don't we know this?
Yeah.
Why am I learning this on a course that only certain people might do? Not everyone in the world is doing. If I'd known this when I was 3 or 4, how different might my thoughts be, my beliefs about myself be, my, beliefs about other people, everyone.
Mhm.
And why doesn't everyone know this? So I said to my mum, this is it. This is what I'm going to make my mission, that everyone knows how to manage their minds and how you are not restricted to something because someone says you're this or someone says you're that or
Mhm.
your own beliefs. If someone says to you at school, for example, you're no good at maths. Okay, I'm no good at maths. And therefore, that belief turns into you not actually being very good. Everything's a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
but you can choose to change that.
Yeah.
And that goes for anything in your life, basically.
Well, that's very interesting that you say that because that would have been my mantra at school was I'm no good at maths, but I would attribute that to the teacher that I had who would
Yeah,
embarrass me in front of the class.
yeah.
And as a result, I couldn't understand. Now, my dad was a teacher, principal of a school. My mum was a teacher. In fact, I'm surrounded by teachers, mum,
Oh,
dad,
wow.
brother, sister, wife. And it's like when I look at what they talk about and the way that the influence, well, we know this from what we do, the influence that people in authority have is
Mm.
phenomenal. And this guy would have said, but what don't you understand? In
Oh,
front of everybody.
so
And
that
so I stopped,
that
I
puts
stopped,
in,
yeah,
yeah.
I just stopped asking, right?
But all what's going on in that moment, what don't you understand? It makes you feel silly, it makes you feel shame, it makes you all the things that are the worst things for a human being to feel.
Yeah.
So you're going to avoid that at all costs.
Well, that's it, and I ended up really falling behind in that subject at school,
Yeah,
and I ended up having to get a tutor and things like that. And
so did I.
I scraped through, right? I got a
Yeah.
C at GCSE, and I thought I never want to have anything to do with maths ever again. Interestingly, like now I have some of the fastest mental maths of anyone in my family because
Yeah.
I work with percentages quite a lot, so I can work that out really quickly in my head and things like that. And I quite like that type of stuff. I quite like that, but that
And
was
I love
because
it now.
well, I
Yeah.
made the change. I made the decision.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to that idiot.
Yeah.
I need to use a different word, but
Yeah.
it's important. We have the ability to choose.
That's exactly the same as me. I had three tutors because two of them couldn't get through to me and made me feel even more stupid.
Yeah.
Then the third one was like the way he described it, the way he explained it, sorry, the maths. I was like, this is simple. He goes, think of it like a puzzle.
Light bulb.
And everything fell into place. It was I can't even think of the name of it, the sine, cosine,
Oh
tangent,
yeah,
and all
yeah. I
that
know what you
stuff.
mean. Yeah.
And
Is
then I
it
actually bought a
trigonometry?
book. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
I
never got
bought a
that.
book and to doing them as puzzles. I was like, this is great fun. And even now, for the kids with their maths homework, and I did it at A level in the end.
Did
I
you?
went and did it at A level, yeah.
Okay.
Um, whereas I was, one of the ones at school that she's not good at maths.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was me. It's
Yeah.
interesting how that changes, but that's part of what we do is like you can make the decision to choose. It's not you're not written into an identity. You write that story.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as we learn what we've learned through hypnosis,
Mm.
you look at your childhood patterns and go, I can understand where every single bit of that, why that turned into that, or why that
Yeah.
turned into that, and how I can change that now.
Yeah.
And I think it's so powerful. And if everybody knew this, it's not too late. If you're an
No, it's
adult
not.
watching this, which you're going to be,
Well, yeah.
you can rewire, reframe anything.
But that's the thing, and that's one of the things, one of the reasons why, we do the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference every year is that because of what we do, we want to grow it so that it becomes more and more prevalent within society and not just as you and I had a conversation, I think you said a minute ago there as well, was
Yeah,
that, oh, that's a bit weird. It's not.
yeah,
It's becoming more and more
yeah.
mainstream, and that's what we want to do. So
Well,
yeah,
it
so
is now. Like when I
yeah.
first started doing it, everyone was laughing at me.
Mm,
Where do you think you're going with this?
yeah,
And now look, like people are now, it's like a new trend. Oh, I'm getting into mindset or I'm getting into this.
yeah,
And I'm like, if you'd done that in the beginning,
yeah.
it seems to be the last resort people are going for, but they're like, oh, I
Oh,
found this thing.
I
Well,
get that every week.
it's
You're my
been there
last hope.
forever.
You're my last resort. And you're like going,
Yeah.
really? If you'd come to me first, you would have missed out on all, you wouldn't have had to deal with all that
All that.
crap,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, well, talking about the conference, right? You and I could talk all day. That's the problem, right? But it's like, it's like with this. So you're presenting this year at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, which is in less than a week. I can't believe that,
Hmm.
but there we go. And sorry it's taken me so long to get round to you. It's just been very, very busy.
Uh-huh.
So why should people come and see you at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference? What is your presentation all about? Now, say as much or as little as you wish. It's just an idea to give people a flavor of what you're talking about.
Okay. So my talk is on business strategy
Mhm.
that most hypnotherapists don't get taught in their training. And I'm saying that from my point of view and from
Mhm.
what I see on a lot of groups online.
Yeah.
How do I get clients? How do I do this?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah.
And when I did my training, there was very little
Mm. Same.
in strategy or and when I was training, it was like how to get yourself in, put yourself into the yellow pages. That's how long
Mm.
ago it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I started out seeing pregnant smokers in a clinic in London. Then
Okay.
I moved on to a holistic centre in Willesden Green. And all
Okay.
I had as a strategy was this is my hourly rate and these are the days I work. That was it. And like I don't want to say too much now, but
Mm.
I didn't have a plan or a strategy. And I met all the problems along the way and figured it out the the difficult way because I didn't know. Like basically, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should go out and run a business in it.
No, true.
So my talk is you are a business owner that sells hypnotherapy services.
Mhm.
That's the way you need to think of yourself. That's
Yeah.
your role, and the hypnosis is what you sell. And um, a couple of years ago, I actually studied business strategy, and I became a business strategist. And
Okay.
I thought to myself, if only there was a hypnotherapy course. I mean, I'm sure there are, but there aren't enough. But if only there was a hypnotherapy course that I know of that teaches the hypnosis, teaches the therapy side of things, and how to set up your business, not just market it, but have a strategy, know exactly how you're going to run it, and all the different aspects of the business.
Mhm.
So I've actually written my own course on it, which I'm starting in September.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
I taught hypnotherapy before. I'm a hypnotherapy trainer,
Hmm.
and I spent 10 years training.
Hmm.
But I took a break in the last couple of years because there was stuff missing, I thought.
Yeah,
So now I'm writing my own. Hopefully it will go well. But
I'm sure
that's
it
what the
will.
talk's about. Business, the business side of things.
Yeah, and that's a part that I think is by many overlooked slightly because nobody really in the therapy space wants to see themselves as a business owner. But
You have to.
ultimately, my background's business, my background is sales, and my whole thing
Mm.
is I got into this very similarly because of, as you did with for my own reasons, got into NLP years and years ago, and then it just gradually migrated into hypnosis and things like that. And it was always in my periphery, and then all of a sudden I just went, no, I need to do this, and we did it. But the whole thing is, my way of looking at things is there are things that are non-negotiables that you have to have as a spend, that you have to have as an investment, that you have to have as a, you must do this. Otherwise, it's like, if you don't have, you could be the best hypnotherapist in the world, but if no one knows you're there, you may as well not be.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people would say, as you said a minute ago, I hear it a lot as well. How do I get clients? How do I need to get more clients and things like that? And there are some of us who do really, really well, right, at this game, but we know how to be visible, you
Yeah.
know, and it's other people, this is the type of thing that you're talking about. I think needs to be more front and center, just because realistically with hypnosis, as you say, or as you say, you're a trainer, there's nothing really new in it. Once you learn the basics, you make it your own, you've got the
Yeah.
potential for a really successful business, but you need to be able to promote it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what you're
Exactly.
talking about. That's a takeaway from what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. And how to
Okay.
have a business that can run itself if you're not well, and
Oh yeah.
how having other sources of
Streams.
income. So
Yeah.
it's not just your hourly session with a client. What you're going to do when you're not well, you want other things to be
Yeah.
selling.
Yeah. No,
So it
and
could be a,
we
like
had a
what we
little
were
chat about
saying,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it could be a little course, or it could
Yeah.
be a course that you've recorded that can sell over and over again, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, or
Hmm.
books, or I've
Yeah.
written a book as well, but that I don't make anything from that. That those proceeds go to a charity. But
Okay. Cool.
all these different ways so that you're not relying on that hourly rate all the
All
time,
the time.
because then you're in the business all the time.
Yeah. Not working on the
And
business,
then,
you're in the business. Yeah.
yeah, and most of us are in this because obviously we want to help people, but we
Correct.
also want it to work for our lives
Hmm.
and have that balance.
Hmm.
So how to get all that in there.
Well, that's a very valuable presentation, and I would very much, and I say this to everybody because everyone I've interviewed has been brilliant. It's just like, but it's true. It's like, it's a very important thing to go and see you about, because it's something that a lot of us probably could always sharpen, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and that's it.
that's the
And
thing.
also, yeah, like you said, things are changing all the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
But just because you've got this strategy in place, it doesn't mean you're not going to have to keep changing it every couple of months
Yeah,
because you
no, it is.
will.
It's a malleable process. It's something,
Mm,
as I said a moment ago, it's like you need to be able to work on the business as well as work in the business.
yeah,
Because if you're in the business, you don't have the ability to step back and look at things and how things are performing.
yeah.
And that's kind of my thought process as well. So no, I look forward to seeing you. So
Thank you.
what I'm going to say is this. My next question, and I ask it to everyone. Now, obviously, we've been to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference since the beginning. But what would you say to someone who was maybe watching this video and going, oh, I would really like to go, but what would you say are the reasons to go? If they had one cheek on either side of the fence, right? What would you do? What would you say to them that would make them swing their leg over and jump in both feet and really get involved in this?
Well, if you're already a hypnotherapist,
Hmm.
you are going to get so much knowledge in this 3 days,
Hmm.
and there's so many different speakers to hear from.
Yep.
And the value is great. You could pay for a course in what some of these people are talking about, or you
Hmm.
can just come along and meet people and chat and get connections. Because what we do in the Irish hypnotherapy community is refer each other on. Oh, I know someone
Yeah.
who does this in this town, or I know someone who's an expert in this. It's not a competitive
No.
environment. It's very supportive because we want hypnotherapy to be more widespread.
Yes,
We're not
correct.
keeping it all for ourselves.
No.
Absolutely not. And if you're not a hypnotherapist, it's a great space to find out what it's all about. And there's no pressure.
Bingo.
Like you can be as social or as unsocial as you want if you're
Mhm.
shy. But I guarantee once you get there, you won't want to be hiding away. You won't be on your own. There'll always be someone bringing you into a circle or,
Well, this is an important thing to say, and I'm glad you've said that because, well, obviously it starts on Thursday with Melissa Tears doing her workshop, but on the Friday when the conference opens for presentations, the first person you'll meet is me and John. But, and you should know my face by now. Sorry about that, but there you go. The second thing is every presenter that I've met, you know them to look at, you know who they are, you know them a little bit about them. It's important to know that they are approachable.
yeah,
if you came to the conference and you were on your own, first things first, you won't be on your own for very long
No,
because it is a
you
very
won't.
much come in. Who are you? Come and join us. You come and sit with us. It's that type of environment, and that's important to say because, as you say, very importantly, we have the community. We've WhatsApp groups, we have Facebook groups, we have all that. Where, as you say, I know someone who, because we all work online and things like that. There are still people who want to see people face to face,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And maybe, for instance, where you're in Castlebar, someone down in Longford, for instance, you might be able to pop someone on there, that type of thing. But from a business point of view, it's a really good place to network and get information that way. But also, as you say, learn from the best in the world who we have and as presenters. But also, it's a lonely old game, this, if you're not careful.
yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a very good point because I'm in networking groups for business, but I'm the only hypnotherapist in
Yeah.
most of them, and they don't understand the work. They understand the self-employment side of it, but not the work.
Yeah.
So having that community of people who get it makes you feel you're not doing too bad.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And that's a very good point.
Yeah,
It gives you validation in the fact that what you're doing is okay. You're doing
yeah,
rightly,
yeah, yeah.
you know, or
That's
it can
it.
help you. You can learn from someone who's doing really well and go, oh, well, little
Yeah,
tips here and there. That's the whole thing. It's really
yeah.
worth doing. So,
Be open.
yeah, yeah,
There's always something you can learn.
yeah, there are. And there are still day tickets available. There's still 3 day tickets available. And you can get the likes of meet Laura, you get to meet me, sadly. But, my point is, um, what you were saying was all of the above, the
Yeah,
likes of community, learning, and involvement.
yeah.
Cool.
And you'll be inspired. Come away inspired, and
Yeah, that is true.
mm,
That is true. I think we've both experienced that from
by
the
at
whole
least
process.
someone.
By at least someone.
Yeah,
We don't know who.
yeah,
But no, that's great. So Laura, I could talk to you all day. You know that. We do. We talked before this as well. So we just blah 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 blah. So we better wrap it up and let
yeah,
people know that they're what you're going to do at the conference. And I would encourage people to come and see you. I'm sure they will. But for now, Laura, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in a matter of days.
yeah. See you soon.
See you soon. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Andy.
Bye.
Bye.